Turn on your fans. Today, by popular demand, I'm going to talk about 5 fans that are sold in the United States that I feel like shouldn't be sold in the United States. Now, the first fan out of 5 terrible fans is the Mainstays Hugger. Now, Mainstays is a Walmart brand, and they probably make some of the crappiest fans in the world, and they are known for being cheap and poorly made and move no air whatsoever. Now, the Mainstays Hugger is in the same style as the Armitage and the Eros. The fan pretty much has cheaper competition, and all of those fans are really cheaply made, and they're all in the same style too. Even the Latex Bentley is in the same style, and it's also fairly cheap. And most of Mainstay's newer fans are really hideous, especially the 42-inch one that has the blade arms like the Lansing. That one is very hideous. And they don't hold up whenever they get around to 5 years old, and they're not. And the bearings are very cheaply made. When you have the fan running, you can literally hear the bearings, even straight brand new out of the box. Even the older Mainstays fans weren't that well made, especially the older Mainstays builder, the one that looks like the turn of the century Apollo 2. Mainstays fans are so poorly made that Walmart just decided to go and dump all of their old fans and come out with these new line of fans. And these new line of fans are even worse. And recently, Mainstays just came out with the 52-inch Mainstays Hugger, and that one is even more hideous. And it also has that trend, like most of the fan brands are doing, where on their Hugger fans, the motor housings are smaller than the fan. I really don't like that design, and it's really stupid. To me, it just looks like a giant tarantula spider, with those big old 52-inch blades in the small motor housing. When you look up at the ceiling and you have one of those newer Hugger fans with the bigger blades and the smaller motor housing, you're going to look up and think, oh, it's a spider. And the next thing you know, it's just the fan. It's just hideous. Now, the next fan on the list is the turn of the century Eros. Now, just like I mentioned about the Mainstays Hugger, the Eros is really no different. Now, as for turn of the century, the Eros is their bottom of the barrel fan. It's the cheapest fan that you can get, brand new. Now, as for turn of the century as a brand, it is a Menards brand. You can find most turn of the century fans at your local Menards. And as for the Eros, you can somewhat get that at a decent price. But as for the Eros, just like the other competition of fans, like the Armitage, the Mainstays Hugger, and the Latex Bentley, it's just cheaper made. And as for turn of the century, they really don't make the greatest quality fans. Now, the Eros is a little bit faster than the Mainstays Hugger, and it only moves air by 2%. It's really not that much better. And the Eros is really not that much better than the Armitage either. Only thing about the Eros is that at least it's really not that noisy compared to the Mainstays Hugger. Now, turn of the century, they've been making some crappy fans, like the Tisbury 2, the Eros, and the Kendrick, and the Sunburst, which is basically a Harbor Breeze Annalise, but it's just turn of the century's version of it. The Tisbury 2 is so bad, you could go out of your house, come back, take out the trash, and come back in the house to the fan, and the fan will still be spinning up to high speed. It's just that slow. And for the price of one of those brand new, I wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. Now, the next fan that I'm going to be talking about is the Minka Air Mesa. Now, Minka Air, they really didn't make the greatest fans. And as for the Mesa is the bottom of the barrel fan. It's basically your Econo fan. It's one of the cheapest fans that you can get nowadays, brand new. Now, since it's a Hugger fan, most Hugger fans, the blades are going to be closer to the ceiling, which causes them not to move a lot of air. Now, for the Mesa, at least the Mesa moves more air than the Mainstays Hugger and the turn of the century Eros. But I would never get a Minka Air fan. Now, the smaller Supra is surprisingly a decent fan. Those actually have 188 by 15s. You can also get the Supra in 32 inches and along with 6 blades, which I think is really interesting. Now the Mesa is one of those fans to where if you're on a budget and if you don't really have that much money, the Mesa is the cheaper option to go if you want something that's actually going to move air and do something and get the job done. Now with the average price of a brand new fan today, which is over $100, the Mesa is definitely a cheaper option to go if you really want a cheaper end fan. But as for me, I would not get a Minka Air fan due to their quality. They were just never up there in quality. Now the next fan that I'm going to be talking about is the Harbor Breeze Centerville. Now the Centerville is probably one of the worst Harbor Breeze fans. They're just known for so many problems, like the motors burning out, them being noisy, slow, and the capacitors don't really hold up over time, and they just don't hold up. As for most newer fans these days, they're just made out of nothing. All it is just scrap metal and plywood. That's all they're made out of nowadays. Now, as for trying to get a home center fan, Harbor Breeze is one of the worst home center fan brands, and I would just avoid it, especially the Centerville. Now with the Centerville, it comes with a 153 by 15 motor. And that's pretty much Harbor Breeze's standard motor that they put in all their other fans. The Lansing has that, the Notice has it, the Pawtucket / Lake Canton has the motor. The majority of their newer fans have that motor, and that motor is not good. Now, when they switched from their 172 by 20 to that 153 motor, that's when they really started going downhill. As for this Belhaven has a 172 by 20. And it's a good motor, but the weakest point is the capacitor. That's the weakest thing on these and the Builder's Best. It's just the capacitors. They just don't hold up. And as you can see, this is a 22-year-old fan, and as you can see, it has held up over time. And it has been getting the job done. And no issues. Only issues is of course the bearings, but if you keep the bearings oiled, you won't have any problems. And Harbor Breeze, if you're watching, why don't you make fans like this anymore? What happened? Y'all's quality used to be good, but when y'all started making these new spinning piles of junk fans like the Centerville and the Coachman and all these other fans, y'all just went down the toilet. Y'all just went down in quality. Now the last fan on the list is the Kickler Sterling Manor. Now, most of those fans are always at Subways. I've seen plenty of those fans at my local Subway. It's your average Subway fan. Now, those fans are known for having bad capacitors. I don't know why, but every single time I see one of those fans, it always has a bad capacitor. Very rare that you're gonna see one with a good capacitor. Now, the Sterling Manor is one of Kickler's cheaper end fans. It's one of their cheaper fans, and it's very cheaply made, just your average builder fan. To whereas for most builder fans, they just don't really perform all that good. Now, the older builders, most of them weren't that good either, but there are a few older builder fans that were actually decent. Nowadays, newer fans are starting to get even more complex, especially the ones with remotes and that are going to DC motors. And as for Kickler's newer fans, they are very expensive. I wouldn't touch a newer Kickler fan with a 10-foot pole. Their fans are just way too expensive, and for the money, you don't even get good performance out of most of them. Even with the Kickler Sterling Manor being an older style fan, even those fans don't really perform when they work. So there you have it. 5 fans that I would avoid and not touch with a 10-foot pole. So if you don't want problems out of the 5 fans that I told y'all not to buy, the best thing to do is just avoid them. Don't buy them. So if you don't want to miss a new video on my channel, remember to ring that bell.